Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 8. The main focus for today will be twofold. We really need to research the radio broadcasting technology, alongside the loyalty ones, so we can get started on broadcasting our glorious message to the masses. I have a strong suspicion that we could be a lot more productive if people were more loyal, so our scientific efforts are laser focused on those aspects of the tech tree. And the second endeavor for today is of course the oil field. While it is relatively close to town, it's still far from being close, so it will take a while to get things done. We will just about manage to plan out the majority of the pump jacks, and route them into a central collection tank for storage. Won't manage to build any of it sadly, our construction capacity will be busy building the new housing district. Before we get started, if this is not your first video from this channel, you already know what to expect. If you want to be kept up to date, please consider subscribing, and if you like what you see, leaving a like will also help letting me know what to focus on. But enough talking, let's get into it. Let's start by finishing up the footpaths around the new embankments. Sadly, there is no room for it behind the carousel, so we will just go around it. And to be able to make this connection properly, we will need to rebuild this entire section, so the connection node is in the right place. Next, it is time to start thinking about expanding our living space. When it was time to invite citizens, all the available space was filled up completely. So we are already suffering from brain drain, as young adults are leaving the country due to the lack of housing. I think just next to the first neighborhood, and behind the technical university will be a good place for the new development. First we demolish a bit of the footpaths that are in the way, and then we will get back to it. The connection nodes are a bit misaligned on the roads, so the intersections will be a bit skewed. For now, we are just going to place the stubs of the roads, so we know where the potential borders of the housing district is, and then we will start placing the apartments. Before we get started on that, let's quickly deal with the rest of the coastal footpaths. And that's all we can do here. All that's left is to place some trees, but we are too busy for that right now. I also wanted to expand the garbage collection a little bit. We have coverage on most things already, but not everything. Also, in hindsight, maybe I should have used the bigger bin storage area right away. The small ones fill up relatively quickly. Although I'm not really sure we could have squeezed in the big ones everywhere anyway. I still went around, seeing if we can maybe add one or two of these bigger ones anywhere, but I don't think it really fits. I mean, we had places that had the room, but it didn't fit aesthetically. But we should have almost full coverage after the one we just placed is finished. With that out of the way, it's time to get started on the new housing district. Well, not sure it's new. More like an extension of the first one. Yeah, I think 8 more of them will be plenty enough. And we have a nice little free area in the middle, ready to accept a monument once we research the good ones. That should do it. I'm not sure the ones right on the edge can reach all the services in town, but we can just build new ones if needed. Time for the footpaths. Same as before, it will be densely packed between the buildings, where they are not as visible. We have the center square planned out, now we just need the ones going between the buildings, and we can connect them up one by one. Almost done. I didn't notice that missing piece in the lower right, but it will be finished in a bit. Let's move on to the garbage collection. First I tried to add as many big collection points as I could, but they didn't fit everywhere, so some of them ended up being small. And now the footpaths are done. That should cover all of them. Next, we should still give them a way to cross the road. There is nothing on the other side, but I doubt that will always be the case, so might as well add some zebra crossings now. I really wanted to get started on upgrading the footpaths to asphalt with lamp posts, but we are already pretty swamped with constructions, so decided against it. And I really don't want to start planning the construction hub either. We really need to have access to the distribution offices to make it work properly. Once that technology is done, then we will get started on it. Before we move on to other things, we still need to give the new houses power. Thank you goes out to Hala29 Gaming for reminding me about the footpath version of the electric substation. We should also upgrade this little street. It's been a gravel road for quite a while now, and it's really easy to forget about such a small street. We should try to prevent people from moving into the new houses right when they finish building. First, we will need to make sure that they are actually capable of reaching the necessary services, not to mention the different transports. We will need to control the way people settle in, so we can test them before opening the floodgates. And the road leading into town is done. We can get rid of the dirt service connection. Before we leave, let's make sure we delete this pesky node in the middle. As usual, it's only possible when there are no vehicles present on the segments on either side of it. With such busy traffic, it's not as straightforward as I would like. There. Now we have a steady and continuous row of street lamps all along that portion of the road. Well, we can leave the town alone for a while. Let's turn our attention to the newly discovered oil field next. We have a lot of green spots dotted around the area. I usually go for 50% on average on my pumps, but this time, I will risk going for 60% whenever I can. Still, I will try to avoid going too far below 40% if I can. We have more spots we could cover, but let's not get too greedy right away. What comes next is the pumps that will merge the different pumps into a single pipe, as well as propel the oil along greater distances. We don't have access to the border connections yet, so for now, let's just try to merge all these pump jacks into a single line, and then dump it all into a storage tank. Nice, the party HQ is finished. We should get started with the loyalty research immediately. We really need those propaganda broadcasts as soon as possible. I think I will trim back 2 of the oil wells, just to make the piping less confusing. Alright. At this point, we managed to merge all the pump jacks into a single pipeline. We can place the storage tank to receive it. For that, we will need a road for construction, so we can continue the main road, and see where we end up. Yeah, that will do nicely, I think. We can continue that road, and use it to connect up all the pump jacks in a second. Of course, we have pipes in the way, so we will need to sever a couple connections along the way, and replace those sections with underground pipes. That should do it. Giving this place a proper fire safety coverage will be a bit of a hassle, but only until we unlock the capability of using helicopters for the job. After that, we can get rid of all those roads. Well, the higher education is still failing us. We might need to dig into our coin purse, and buy a couple more batches of highly educated citizens in the near future. It all depends how our loyalty boost will end up working out. Average productivity is still pretty high at 80%, so not really sure boosting loyalty will get us out of this negative trend. I guess we might as well upgrade the entire length of the road going to the oil field. Wait. We need to give the construction vehicles a way out. Adding a small dirt connection will do just that. Speaking of giving access to the construction machinery, let's add a service road for the new highway, so we can tackle the project from several points all at once. With this, we could even start building the pump jacks themselves if necessary. Although, I much rather focus on the housing development first. We really need to nip this education issue in the bud. I'm not sure how education is being affected by the fast forwarding. I really need to stop using it so much, but it's such a convenient thing to have at our disposal, it's hard to give it up. Alright. Next up, the secret police. That's what comes next in line that will eventually lead up to the propaganda broadcasts. Looking at the garbage trucks, I remembered that we should have a collection point at the industries too. Right now, we are collecting rubbish from all buildings individually, and that's not very efficient. To focus on the housing development, we should also give the buildings high priority, so they can be finished as soon as possible once they are accessible. The basic broadcasting technology is finished. We can move on to the one focusing on radio specifically. This clothing delivery truck was less than half full as it left the warehouse. I think we can allow just one of them to do this job for now. Let's just follow this one to the border, and then sell it. Well, we should try to speed things up a little more, so how about we increase the priority on some of these footpaths too? It's one thing to have the buildings on high priority, but it's not much help if the walkways leading to them are on medium. Well, I know it will hurt us even more, but I really want to finish up the current research goals. I already knew that we will end up moving all the professors to the research department sooner or later. Okay. The secret police is unlocked. I had a choice at this point. Start researching the distribution offices, or wait for the radio tech to finish, and start doing the propaganda then. For the sake of education, I decided to wait. Also, I only noticed while editing, that the construction buses are not moving. After the recording, I did discover that the bus stop was no longer assigned to it. I could have sworn I already did that, so I didn't really check. But at least now we know why progress on the housing project was so damn slow. Seriously. I did assign the town bus station to it when I built it. Right? And I don't remember the connection ever being severed, so I have absolutely no idea why it was unassigned. The lack of buses does explain all these half-finished constructions. I guess we might need to start double-checking the construction offices whenever we have issues. Here, I decided to preemptively disallow workers to enter the construction sites from the streets. Ideally, we want them to congregate at the bus station. And to prevent having to do this again in the future, I decided to just do a blanket prohibition on this setting being applied to new projects. Let's just leave the workers up to the buses, and have everyone go to the bus stop if they cannot find work at a local service building. And at this point, I just wanted to finish researching the radio tech, so we can at least get started on the broadcasting station, and begin research on the last necessary technology, before we say goodbye for today. So, engage one last time lapse. There. We have access to the radio stations at this point, and we can get started on the propaganda tech. Let's get that one started, start construction on the station itself, and call it a day. As I've said before, we will use this medium-sized radio broadcasting building again. Maybe we will build the big one in the next town, But this is more than enough for what we need right now. So, I think this is where we will leave it for today. Obviously, the first thing we need to take care of in the next episode is the bus situation. In the meantime, I did check, and yes, we did in fact assign the town bus station to it, so it's a mystery why it got unassigned. We had a continuous, uninterrupted connection between the two since then, so I'm out of ideas. Did it happen when I got rid of that node in the middle of the road? That's the only thing I can think of. Not sure I like the idea of offices losing connections when we do this. It makes no sense. The assigned stuff should just stay assigned, even if the connection was severed for a second. Anyways, once that thing gets sorted, we should be making better progress on the housing development. The sooner we get that done, the better. And once that's done, we will need to keep an eye on our education. If the increased loyalty doesn't end up helping the situation, we might need to invite more intellectuals to compensate. We might already be beyond the point of no return, so it is likely that we will need to invite more of them. Anyways, if you haven't done it already, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel, and leaving a like would also let me know that this video was worth making. If you feel that it was good enough, and you can afford it, please consider going to my Ko-fi page, which you can find in the description, and donate an amount that you feel is appropriate. And if you did like what you've seen, there should be links to some of my other videos and playlists on the screen. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.